Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's CancerFITT education topic. Today, we will be talking about strength training. So, when we're talking about exercise, a couple weeks ago, we talked about aerobic exercise and why that's an important part of an exercise program. So, today, we're going to be taking that a step further and talking about strength training, what that is, why it's important for exercise routine, and why it's definitely important for cancer survivors. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, if you get out your CancerFITT education booklet. And you have that. Remember, if you do not have that, I will be uploading the handout on my screen here so you can follow along if you want to. But I think it's like the third education topic in your book. So it's right after the chemo brain that we did last week. So it's the fourth education topic. So we're talking about strength training. All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so we are talking about strength training today. So, what is strength training? So, it's probably the second thing that you think of when you think about exercise. Most people think about cardiovascular exercise, the running, the jogging, the biking. Well, strength training is the weight. So that's what the second most important part of your exercise program would be. So technically, it's described as any form of resistance. So anything that is resisting, anything that is not easy to lift, push, or pull can be considered strength training. So that could be your body weight. A lot of exercises have just body weight. So if you think about body weight exercises, it's push-ups and pull-ups. That would be considered body weight strength training because you're not having any actual weight. You're just using the own weight of your body. Resistance band. So just like the resistance band that you received on your orientation. So that's that rubber like rubber band type exercise device. Hand weights, of course, like pictured here, just some typical hand weights or dumbbells, if you want to call them that, and then machines. So those are kind of here we have Techno Gym. If you remember the old Nautilus equipment, so those are like a leg press machine, a chest press machine. So those are the machines with the stacks of plates of weights on them that you use. So there's depth and there's different forms. This list is not even all exhaustive because there's pulley machines as well. So there's a lot of ways you can use resistance to strength train. So why should you strength train? What is the purpose of it? So what it does, it increases your lean muscle. So of course, it makes your muscles bigger. It makes that lean muscle bigger. So it increases the muscle size and muscular endurance. So if we talk about two things, there's muscular strength and there's muscular endurance. So muscle strength would be if you had a really heavy box and you can lift it up one time and then put it down. So that's your muscle overall strength. Muscular endurance is if how many times you can lift that box up and put it down. So now my muscles are going into more endurance phase. So of course, by lifting weights, you increase both of those. You increase your pure strength and your endurance, the ability for you to lift something heavy multiple times. So you can kind of see how that would be important in your everyday life. And we'll kind of talk about that in a minute, why you need to be strength training. It improves coordination and balance. So, of course, the stronger your muscles are, especially your lower body muscles, your leg muscles, are very important for balance. So a lot of times our balance is not as good because our muscles are weak. Our muscles in our lower body are weak. So it improves your quality of life. So of course your quality of life is going to go up. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to do more things because you have strength. When you don't do things for a while, maybe you're bedridden or you can't move because you're dealing with side effects and symptoms from cancer and cancer treatment. Your quality of life, of course, is not good because your muscles are weak. You're not able to do things for a long period of time. But for strength training and getting those muscles stronger, that's not only going to help you be able to do things, lift things, go places, but it's also going to help with fatigue as well. It keeps muscles from wasting due to inactivity. So that old adage is if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. That is true for your muscles. If you don't lose your muscles, unfortunately, they're going to waste away. If you stay bedridden or in the bed for a long time, or you are not active, you're not walking around, your muscles are going to actually shrink. If you think about if you've ever had a broken limb and you had a cast on your arm or your leg, you notice how when you had that body part immobilized in the cast, and when you took it out off, you can tell such a big difference in one side and the other because that muscle has shrunk. So if you don't use your muscles, they're going to shrink. So how you can avoid that is by actually training them, doing strength training to kind of help that muscle wasting. It prevents osteoporosis. So when you can do strength training, you can build the bone. So they actually help build density in your bones. So once the muscles get stronger, the bones get stronger. And then muscle strength is important for everyday activity. So you can't do anything in your life other than sit down if you don't have your muscles. So for cleaning, if that's that muscular endurance, you're going to have muscles. For cooking, for shopping, for chores, for anything you need, you have to have strength. We talked about when we were talking about aerobic activity, not only, let's say you had to go to a store and you had to do a lot of walking. If you don't have muscular strength, especially in your legs, you're going to get tired really easy. Your muscles are going to feel tired and weak, and you can't do it. So muscular strength is very important to just get back to an everyday normal life. So just like we had that formula for aerobic exercise, we have that same formula for strength training. So if you remember, it's that FIT formula, and each letter stands for a specific word. And so we're going to start with our FIT formula for strength training. So we're going to start with F for frequency. So of course, if you go back to the aerobic exercise, the frequency, of course, stands for how often. So how often should you strength train? 2 to 3 days a week is the American College of Sports Medicine and the American Cancer Society guidelines. They say you should be strength training 2 to 3 times a week. Of course, if you are a cancer survivor and you haven't done activity for a very long time, it would be appropriate to start with just 1 day a week and to see how you're doing. Remember, a lot of these prescriptions are for the end goal. This is where you should end up at, but we always want to start where we are. So how often? 2 to 3 days per week. You want to train on non-consecutive days. So meaning if you do weights or you do your band exercises one day, you want to skip a day in between. The reason for that is because when you do strength training, it is a lot of stress on your muscles. It kind of breaks your muscles down only to build it up stronger. So you want to give your body a full day in between to recover before you do it again. If you don't, you could experience more soreness than usual, or you can, actually get an overtraining injury, or you could hurt something. So you always want to give your body a full day to recover in between. And also you want to kind of just pay attention to how your body reacts to the exercise. If you do it every day and you never give yourself a break, and then you're weak, you're tired, maybe you pulled something, you probably should have stopped and gave yourself a break or not did that exercise. So I always say if you give yourself a day in between, you kind of pay attention to your body on that day you're resting and see if, my neck kind of hurts. Maybe I should, adjust my upper body exercises. So always give your body a day of rest in between, so that muscle can recover. And of course, we're only talking about strength training. That's your weights and your resistance band. Aerobic exercise you can do every day. The next letter in our formula is I, and I stands for intensity. So that means how hard are you working? So this is basically if we had a scale from 1 to 10, 1 would be the easiest, you're not doing anything, and 10 would be a max. So in that 1 to 10 scale, how hard are you working? How hard should you be working when you're doing strength training? Very simple. So you always want to start light. Going back to the frequency, you never want to do something too heavy because you can injure yourself, or and then if you injure yourself, then you're going to set yourself back. So always start a little bit lighter than you think you should and see how your body reacts. If you start light and no problems, you rest a day in between and you still feel okay, then you can slowly start to increase your weight. When you're doing strength training, it shouldn't be a 1 or 2 if you're doing that 1 to 10 scale. It shouldn't feel like it's the easiest thing in the world. And, I can do this all day. I can do biceps curls all day. It's so simple. The last couple, if you're doing a set of 12, the last 2 should be somewhat challenging. If it's somewhat challenging, then you're gaining something from it. You're actually gaining strength. If it's really, really easy, you're probably not working hard enough to gain strength. So it should be somewhat challenging the last couple reps. But your reps should be slow and controlled. You never want to speed through your reps. If you're doing bicep curls and you're going super, super fast, then you really use the momentum and not the actual muscle to lift the weight. So nice, slow, and controlled. You can count 2 seconds up and 2 seconds down, 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. Just make sure you're doing it consistently and slow and controlled. So that's for intensity. The last couple should be somewhat challenging. The next letter is type. So what type of exercises you can do? We talked about that in the beginning. So you can use hand weights, you can use resistance bands, weight machines, you can use your own body weight. Now that we're in a pandemic and people are staying at home and they have to be creative, you can use all sorts of things. You can use cans of food, you can use gallons of water, you can use grocery bags with the handles and put cans in there and use that for weight. So anything, now that can be used for strength training. But of course, we have the resistance bands that you should have, so you could utilize that. Next is time. So of course, how long, how much should you be lifting? So I recommend 12 reps, and a rep is one time doing it. So if you're doing a bicep curl, that's one bicep curl. I recommend doing 12 repetitions of everything. If you look in your education booklet where it has how many reps, for the most part, I'm putting 12 reps. And then work up to 2 sets. 2 sets is how many times you do that 12 reps. So you could do 12, rest, and then do 12 more. If you're just starting out, maybe just do 12 reps and that's it. Once you get a little bit more in shape and you feel like it's easy, then you can maybe move up to 2 sets of 12. And once you can do 2 sets of 12, then you're probably at your max 2 to 3 sets of 12, and maybe you need to move up the weight or tighten up the band till those last couple feel challenging. And you do need to exercise for every major muscle group. In your education booklet, the routine that I gave you is an exercise for every major muscle group. So you want to make sure that you're very specific. So of course, if you have a specific muscle that you want to strengthen, make sure you're doing an exercise for that. But you're working your chest, your back, your biceps, your triceps, your quadriceps, your hamstrings. So every major muscle that you have, you want to do an exercise for that. And then I added a P in here, progression. So a lot of times people say, well, how do I improve? I've been doing 2 sets of 12 and it's pretty easy. I've had 5-pound weights, or I have this resistance band. And it feels like it's not a challenge. Remember, you said those last 2 reps should be a challenge. I'm not feeling that anymore. So how do I move up? So you want to update or change your exercise program every 2 to 3 months. This CancerFITT exercise program is about 3 months. So you want to do something different. So when things are too easy, of course, your muscles are going to adapt. You're going to get stronger. So if you're doing 5-pound weights, at some point, that's going to get pretty easy, and it's not going to be a challenge for you. So when that happens, you want to go up in weights. You want to go to maybe 6-pound weights or 7-pound weights. If you have an exercise band, of course, the skinnier the band is, the easier it is. Then you want to go up to a thicker band, which is going to be harder. So you want to make sure that, in 2 to 3 months, when it feels easy, that you move up. Of course, if you're 2 to 3 months in and it still feels pretty challenging, then of course, by all means, stay there. But if it's easy and your muscles have adapted and you gain strength, if you want to continue to gain strength, you're going to have to move up. You could add a variety of different exercises. So if you've been doing this particular exercise for your chest, maybe try doing something else. So you want to change it. That's how you're going to progress. Now, if you just want to stay, you gain your strength and you just want to stay there, then you stay the same. But if you want to continue to move up, then you have to change something. So what are the precautions? So of course, this is just a simple, quick overview. Of course, strength training can be more detailed, and if you have any questions, we can go over that. But this is, again, just a quick overview of strength training. So precautions, of course, it is very important to breathe when you're doing strength training. If you hold your breath when you're doing strength training, you can actually build up build up pressure in your chest cavity, and it could cause your blood pressure to spike. It can make you lightheaded. So you always want to make sure you're breathing in and exhaling out. I know sometimes it's a reflex to want to hold your breath when you're lifting something heavy, but that is the complete opposite of what you should be doing. You should be breathing in and exhaling out. A big question that I always have is, how do you know the proper way to breathe? You always want to exhale as you exert, or exhale on the hard part, and then inhale when you return to rest. So I always say, just inhale right before you start an exercise, and then exhale as you do it. So if you're doing bicep or chest press, you want to inhale before you do the chest press and exhale as you do it. So that's what you want. But of course, that can get sometimes, I think for some people, confusing and cumbersome. Just breathe. As long as you're not holding your breath, that's the main thing. So always breathe. Do not forget to breathe. If you have lymphedema, so if you are a breast cancer survivor, have had lymph nodes removed, you want to make sure that if you are prescribed a compression sleeve, you want to make sure you do wear that compression sleeve when you're strength training. It kind of helps with that removal of the lymph, and you need that because you're going to be increasing your blood flow and when you're exercising. So you want to make sure that you're wearing your compression sleeve if you have one. And then, of course, pay special attention to any surgery sites, any ports when you're starting an exercise program. Surgery sites can be tender, they can be red, so you don't want to do anything that's irritating that. That's why that day of rest is very, very important. So if you do an exercise on one day and then, because you're giving your day of rest, you're paying attention to your body. Maybe you know something is red or something is swelling, then you know to back off the exercise the next time. Don't continue. So make sure that you're paying attention. If you have a port in place still, pay attention to that port. This very one time, we had someone in our program exercising, and they were doing the chest press machine, or doing any exercise for their chest, and their muscles started getting bigger, and it started kind of messing with the port a little bit. Their port started to get red, and so we had to take them off upper body exercises. So if you do have a port or surgery sites, make sure that when you start your strength training routine that you pay attention to those sites. Make sure there's no redness or swelling, and if you do see that, then you do either want to back off, go down in the weight, or just discontinue the exercise completely. And so, though the source for this information, of course, is the American College of Sports Medicine, which I'm certified through that organization. If you have any other questions, then you could definitely go to their website, and they would have more helpful information. Again, this is just an overview of strength training, very short and concise. It can get a lot more in detail, and if you do have a specific question that wasn't covered, just make sure that you ask me. All right, and I'm going to stop the share. So that is pretty much it. Just a brief overview of strength training. Again, that's not all encompassing. If you have any questions when I call, just let me know. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed and have a good rest of your day.